We had major impact at the top and the bottom of the seed lines last night in college basketball as Georgia upset number 2 ranked Florida. Huge win for the Bulldogs. They're among Jerry Palm's first 4 out, and potentially very costly for a Florida team that was on Jerry's 1 line at his last bracketology update on Monday. We'll bring in Jerry Palm now, who's doing bracket updates on Mondays and Fridays right now. It'll become a lot more prevalent over the course of the next couple of weeks. But Jerry, when you update your bracketology later this week, where do you think Florida is going to be?
I think they'll be on the 2 line because, I mean, that's a loss. When you're in a competitive situation like they are, you know, they're in a spot where they're competing with Alabama and Tennessee from their own league, plus Houston has been making a charge. So Florida's definitely going to come down off that 1 line. I'm going to put Houston up for now. The Houston-Tennessee debate is pretty tight. I just like the way the Cougars are going. So I'm going with Houston, but there's a case to be made for Tennessee as well. And Florida will be behind both of them, but they won't fall any farther than that.
And Georgia's still among your first 4 out, correct?
Yes. You know, here's the thing about Georgia. You know, they were 3 games below 500 against the top 3 quadrants. I bring up that stat a lot, even though I don't think the committee ever looks at it specifically. But if you are, you know, that far below 500 against that group of teams, you almost never make the NCAA tournament. Actually, only 1 team was 2 games below 500 against the top 3 quadrants and got in. Nobody's ever been worse. So now Georgia moves up. They're back to 2 games under. But Georgia not only needed quality wins, which they certainly got last night, they need quantity wins. They just need to win more games, whoever they're playing. They obviously don't have any games tougher than Florida left on their schedule, but they need to start stringing wins together so that they can get comfortably in the tournament, or at least feel good about their chances when the SEC tournament starts at the end of next week.
You saw in that first 4 out, the team right in front of them, the Texas Longhorns. They're your first team out of the tournament right now, and a huge bubble game tonight at Arkansas, who's among your last 4 in. What will be the ramifications of that game tonight in Fayetteville, 9 Eastern?
Well, in short, the winner will be ahead of the loser because they're that close together. And in fact, really the reason that Arkansas is ahead of Texas right now, I mean, obviously their profiles have a lot of similarities, but the biggest difference is Arkansas won at Texas the first time they played. So Arkansas is ahead now largely because of that game. If Texas is able to even the score, then I think the small differences that favor Texas would put Texas ahead of Arkansas. And if they don't win, then Arkansas has got a bit of a cushion over Texas, and Texas has got an uphill climb just to get back into the field from there. So this is a really important game for both teams.
Several bubble teams in action tonight. We showed you a list of a bunch of those teams, including the Indiana Hoosiers. They're among your last 4 in, coming off a huge win against Purdue. But Jerry, I got to imagine one of the reasons they're in right now is because they don't have any bad losses. No losses outside the first quadrant. So tonight's game is a Q2 at home against Penn State. Is that a must-win?
Well, yeah, because you don't want to give away what you just did on Sunday. And that's the effect of doing that, is that they lose at home to Penn State right after they beat Purdue. You're not really much better off than if the results were the other way around. So, you know, that's why this game's important. You've got this big momentum win over Purdue. Now you got to keep that momentum going against the teams that you should beat. And Indiana's done a reasonable job against the teams they should beat. The problem is that they haven't been up to the task against most NCAA tournament teams. Well, Penn State is not one of those. So this is a game that they have to win. IU's part of their problems has been sort of an inconsistency in intensity from game to game, but it's too late in the season to be inconsistent now. You got to go hard every night.
Interesting spread there. Indiana only favored by 5.5. Penn State's been feisty. They've won back-to-back games, and they're trying to play their way into the Big Ten tournament because the bottom 3 teams in the conference get left out of the Big Ten tournament. Only the top 15 are in. Let's go to the top of the Big Ten, and that's where you find Michigan State in a tie for first place right now. They're hosting a red-hot Maryland team, beg your pardon, on the road at a red-hot Maryland team. They're far away on the seed lines, though. In your last update, you had Michigan State at 2, I believe, and Maryland down at a 7. So who has more to gain here in seeding?
Oh, Maryland has more to gain. I mean, Michigan's not going any higher. I'm sorry, Michigan State is not going any higher than a 2 anytime soon. They can maybe reach a 1 by the end if they win the Big Ten tournament and other things happen. But, Maryland has got much more upward mobility in terms of seeding. So, it's a more important game to them to try and make a move up the bracket. And that game's at Maryland, right? So they won't get the boost of a road game, but still, you beat a team that's in the top 8. So, yeah, that's a big win for Maryland if they can get it. And, Maryland is still in touch in terms of trying to win the regular season title in the conference. They're only 2 games back with 4 to play. So, and this is one of the teams ahead of them. So it has something to do with the conference race as well.
Yeah, Maryland in 4th place right now. That top of the Big Ten looking really good. Jerry Palm with us here on CBS Sports HQ. We'll be updating his bracketology on Friday. And as we move forward into March, it'll become a daily occurrence. Thank you, Jerry. We have a triple header on CBS Sports Network once again tonight. We'll start in the A-10, Dayton and Rhode Island. Number 7, St. John's, a chance to clinch at least a share of the Big East Championship on the road at Butler, and then we'll finish things up out west in Corvallis as San Francisco heads to Oregon State.